Hi everybody and welcome back to the Going For It Sim Studio. When I first started this challenge at the end of last winter to attempt to break 80 for my very first ever round of golf outside by only learning on an indoor golf simulator, the goal was to actually change the way golf is learned. I have always believed that we can utilize technology to not have to take the traditional path of setting up lessons, spending all your time at the course, and then having to follow these tee times that just really puts a time commitment on all of us, especially those of us who are really busy but have always wanted to play golf, like myself. I was able to maintain an elite level of fitness, full-time job, and a busy family while learning this game, and taking those experiences from that I have learned to be able to give to you is exactly what I'm here to do. Today, we're gonna talk about data. How do you look at data from a beginner's perspective, not get overwhelmed, and have the ability to not only enjoy the game of golf, but start progressing your journey to the score that you're after. Let's go straight into it. All right, that should be an okay shot for some really good baseline data for us to use. Now, if you want to just utilize a simulator to have a good time, I say go to About Golf's website, go to the Find a Sim, and find a simulator near you, take your family and friends, and have a wonderful time. Just go play around, warm up on the range. Don't care at all about all those numbers that you see. There's a cool handicap system that'll kind of blur the lines between the skill levels so that everybody can equally have a great time. And hey, I promise you, you won't even lose a single ball. Okay, so let's go right into what we're here to learn. How do I, as a newer or beginner golfer, utilize a simulator and the data that I get from it as a training aid to be able to take home and say, hey, I learned something. And then apply that to your outside play so you're now utilizing a simulator to supplement your outdoor play. We're gonna make that really, really easy here. This is an absurd amount of data, and this isn't even close to the stuff that I can pull out of the About Golf simulator. If you go to a sim house, if your buddy has a simulator, or you have one at your own house, or are planning on installing a simulator, you're gonna see similar data. And the one thing that I wanna just really kind of put out here is, regardless of what simulator technology you are using, don't compare data across simulators. Every simulator has a different technology. It could be whether it reads balls via high-speed cameras like my About Golf does, or it could be Doppler, or just a standard radar, right? They're all gonna have different algorithms, and your data is gonna be slightly different. The very best way for you to understand how far off that is try to get out to a range with a healthy range finder and be able to dial in your distance and see how far off you are and then make those changes. But you shouldn't be too concerned about that as a newer or beginner golfer. Please just don't compare across and wonder why one is better than the other. Just because it's more expensive does not mean it's more accurate. So moving on to the data. Out of all of this, we're gonna focus on two. Mainly one, with a little bit of a second one. This was a 7-iron that I hit, okay? We can look at this ball flight, and I can look at this data now that I've learned all this, and I could tell you exactly why it did this, but that's not why we're here. What we're gonna talk about are gaps. We're gonna worry about how far does each club go, specifically your carry. Now, we're gonna touch a little bit on the ego, and I know this is hard for a lot of people, because a lot of us don't understand how far the ball actually goes. There's a lot of variables on driving ranges and golf courses that cause balls to go too far. The stakes that are out there, they could not be accurate when you're looking at the map. It says, hey, this blue stake is 125 yards. You think you're hitting it at that 125, but maybe you're not. Maybe they're off. Unless you have your rangefinder and you're able to see exactly where that lands and scope that, it's not easy. So a lot of the reliance on the data is just gonna have to be that. You're gonna have to kind of rely on it to be accurate. I have utilized other simulator technologies in the sim here against About Golf, and the distances are generally pretty close. Not a big enough difference for you to be concerned, which is really, really good. The other data is where About Golf really takes the lead, and that's where you're gonna really wanna utilize the more expensive technology. So your total and your carry, what's the difference? The carry is how far the ball goes before it touches the ground the first time. Your total is how far it's going to roll before it completely stops. The reason why the total is not the number you want to focus on is because of those variables that are outside. If you're hitting down a hill, up a hill, on a side slope, you never know what you could have hit. You could have hit a sprinkler. You could have hit somebody else's divot. A lot of things that are going to change how far that ball goes. What you want to know more than the total is how far that ball is going to carry. That's going to allow you to understand how far each shot's going to go. If you need to go over a hazard, or if you're hitting onto a green and the flag is in the back, you know you need to hit it short and roll it up. Or if you have a club like a wedge, you can see how much are you pulling it back. Are you a high spinner? As a newer or beginner golfer, probably not yet, but you should understand how far every club goes. And look, hey, please don't get lost in comparing yourself against other people. Everybody's different. More athletic, less athletic. Some people pick it up quicker. There's just so many reasons why certain clubs don't go. And it's even the equipment. Your lofts could be different than your buddies. Don't ever look at a PGA Pro's numbers and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so far off of that. Just don't do that. It's really not. It's not fair to yourself. If you know your numbers, I promise, if you know your gaps better than your friends who are single digit handicaps, you're gonna score really well. Now, I probably shouldn't use single digit handicaps as an example because they're pretty good. But if you know your gaps, you're gonna be able to score. Scoring is what brings that score down, right? I know that's really simple. So how do we do that? You hit the ball and you wanna hit a few. Say hit 20, 30, 40, 50. If you use the About Golf Simulator and you have the app, you can actually take that data home with you. You don't have to write anything down. If you can't take it home, make sure you write these down. You don't want to take your longest carry and say, this is how far I hit it. Because look, if you're doing that once out of 30 shots, you're certainly not going to do that on the course, right? Because we have a perfect lie in here. Find your average, find your spread so you know what a miss is going to be. What's a long miss look like? What does a short miss look like? That's all really important data that you're going to be able to interpret on the course that's going to allow you to score better. The other thing to focus on is your dispersion. Some of the simulators can print out for you your dispersion patterns if that's what you want to do. Or you can just kind of look at it yourself and go, okay, hey, my 9-iron is going X amount of yards left and right. You can build your own dispersion. It's understanding your misses, right? Golf is an impossible game. How can you make that easier? Understand your gaps, understand those dispersions a little bit per club. But those distances are really what's going to hone that in for you. Please like, follow, and subscribe. I'm going to continue pushing the data and instruct and teach you all exactly what numbers to look at for what portions of your game as you continue your journey to the swing you're looking for or that score that you are looking to break. Until then, go find a simulator, start utilizing it as a training aid, get those numbers so that when this snow melts away, you go out onto the course sharper than you have ever been.